if you've been following the development of Subnautica Below Zero to any extent really, you would know that it's been quite a while since we've received any major updates. I mean, this is quite obvious with what's going on in the world right now, and also the fact that Subnautica was stuck in the limbo of undergoing a massive story rework, so it feels that much nicer to say that we have officially received another big update just a few days ago called Frostbite. Now in today's video, I'm just going to quickly walk you through what is new in this update if you haven't checked it out yet yourself, and at the end I'm also going to briefly discuss where I think Subnautica Below Zero will be headed next. So without any further ado, get ready to vacate the space station, make sure to follow an asteroid though so you can dodge Altera satellites, and let's go. Now first things first, the Frostbite update delivers a lot of what we've kind of seen trickle into the Subnautica Below Zero experimental build over the past few weeks. Namely, that would be the reworked intro, which you can see at the beginning, clearly showing the new story in its full form, with new dialogues, a new voice actor, and a new premise for the entirety of the game. But on top of this, there has also been some more polish to some interactions you could have seen in the story already, and also a few minor changes and additions to certain encounters with some characters I'm not gonna name. Now the next big point they mention in this update is the polish to several biomes, and most important of these would be the glacial basin. Now this is a biome which is actually from a very large part on the surface, and as the Subnautica team has acknowledged before, a big part of their focus for Subnautica Below Zero is to make sure that the surface gameplay feels just as good as the underwater gameplay. And while with this area's design, they're certainly taking a step in the right direction. You can now find a ton of smaller caves, nooks and crannies to be explored, but also curious bones on the floor, including a set of bones from the ice worm, but also a few bits and pieces of new Alteran equipment which I don't believe we've quite seen before. Now with the rework of areas in mind, we should also mention that the implementation of cold mechanics and escalating weather has now been polished further and implemented better. The whole idea behind the game is that you will have to find ways from one heat source to the next. If you stay in one place for too long, you might just freeze, and this has been further emphasized with new UI elements and new mechanics in the world for staying warm. Now to play on this, the weather now changes more seamlessly, the changes are more dramatic, and a storm could roll in at any moment, so you really have to plan your, let's call them, surface expeditions more carefully. And having already mentioned new technology and new menu items, this comes back in two more points that they mention, one of them being the status indicators for your equipment, which now shows the durability of each item as a sidebar in your inventory, which I think is pretty neat, but also something that is particularly curious, because it seems like a combination of Alteran and precursor technology, the Quantum Locker, a locker which allows you to place several instances of it in the world that you can then access as one central inventory from any of those instances. Now as already mentioned, I think what makes these really interesting is that it shows that Altera has clearly been using precursor technology to construct some of their tools and equipment, and it really makes me excited to see what more we will be able to build that will follow in line with this ideology. Now additionally, there are a few new animations which can be seen. You can now toss snowballs at charging stalkers to prevent them from killing you. The ice worm animations regarding stalkers have also been implemented. And as a final note, there are also ore veins which can now be found around some of the areas which you can gather for extra materials. Oh, and if you need to remember these, you can also now craft the handy surface beacons which you can use to navigate around the, well, sometimes quite confusing surface areas. Now that is effectively all there is to this update, and arguably that's quite enough. I mean, especially considering the current situation in the world and how much harder it must be to get stuff out the door. However, there are a few points which I would like to address, mainly brought up by the community in the comments, which I think are actually some good feedback for Unknown Worlds Entertainment and for how the game should continue to evolve from now on. I think one of the main things that I'm seeing throughout the comment section is, number one, people complaining that the game simply isn't dangerous enough. Yeah, there are some big creatures in the game, don't get me wrong, but it seems more like a lot of them are passive, and most of the areas are just a tad too safe to explore. Now naturally, we don't know how this will evolve as the game goes forward, but chances are, if the team behind Subnautica agrees on this, we should be getting some more dangerous creatures as the game nears release. Now, the other main point that I think some people have brought up is the partial lack of navigation points when it comes to the story. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand if some people prefer to not have the story fed to them. Some people really like to just have to listen, and based on the information the game gives them, know what to do next. But not everybody likes to play this way, so maybe it might be nice if they decided to include an option in the menu where you can switch these on or off, and these would simply be navigation points, kind of how the life pod beacons acted in their first game, which would at certain points drive you towards where the story is located, because let's be honest, some people just play the game for the story, and I think that is perfectly fair for them. But at the end of the day, that is it for this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed and are at least a bit more caught up on the current status of Below Zero and what you can expect if you decide to fire it up tonight. If you like this video, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. And hey, if you feel like it, give me a follow on Twitter at TheLatestBacon. I sometimes post my progress and videos there, what content will be coming next, or you can interact with me there directly if you're interested in doing so. But with that, I'm gonna wish you all a beautiful rest of today, and I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.